welcome to today's show. On today's show, I've got Matt Giggs. Now, Matt Giggs is the founder of Giggs & Co, a market-leading estate and letting agent, and he is also an estate agent coach. So, Matt rose through the ranks, going through it Countrywide before deciding to give it all up in pursuit of starting his own company. So, Matt has a really interesting story because he's gone from the corporate side and now into running his own company and actually becoming a mentor. So really hope you enjoy today's show and appreciate you listening. Thank you very much. Matt Giggs, welcome to the show.
Hello Tim, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm brilliant. I'm really good, thank you very much.
Excellent.
What about yourself? What about yourself?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Like I said, it's now coming to the summer. I'm down in Bournemouth, sunny Bournemouth. The sun's shining today, so
lovely.
No, we are all good. We are all good. So, as you may or may not know, we always kick off the show with our first question, kind of signature question, which is, what is your definition of a leader?
Great question. I'm glad you asked me that. My definition of a leader is someone who, my definition is someone who really understands where they're going and who they, from a personal perspective, they understand who they want to become. If they're in a position of, or, within an organisation, whether they're an entrepreneur, whether they're a senior manager, whatever it might look like, they need to know their destination. They need to know what. So for me, a leader is someone who has a clear idea of where they're going, because that's how you have to benchmark from that vision what you're doing along that journey to get there. Who do you need? And and those people then need to understand what's expected of them in order to help that vision to come to life. So I think someone who's a leader for me is someone who can take people with them to the vision.
Absolutely. How far, when you talk about taking people with you, is there a time period, you say? Because some people I've spoken to have 100-year plan. Some people have. I know. I've never heard that.
No, never heard that.
Yeah, one of our guests had a 100-year plan.
Awesome.
Some people have 5-year plans, 1-year plans. Do you have a set time scale to your vision of what you want to achieve, or is it a ongoing?
It's ongoing. Look, I think it's ongoing. When I started my own business, my first vision was, can I earn what I earn personally?
Yeah.
After tax, if you like, as a self-employed, I've just took that step. Can I get my family to that place where I know that we can live? That was my first vision financially, and on a perspective of the business at the time, that meant I needed to achieve this number of sales and so on and so forth. So I think, for me, the financial stuff needs to be a lot more defined, more specific. A lot closer. So in other words, if you go too far down the line, it's good to have like a 5-year plan in my mind, because it sets your intentions, or a 10-year plan. There's nothing wrong with dreaming and really, really feeling what's important to you in your future and who you want to become in order to get there. But, I like to kind of bring things back down so I can see clearly what I'm doing as I go through the journey to get there. So just to give you an example, for argument's sake, in 5 years' time, we want to be the best culture in agency, right? We want to have the best culture in agency. Now, for us to get there, we've got to go through steps. One is to really make it clear where we are right now. So where are we now? What kind of things do we need to do to kind of go on that journey? What kind of people do we need? What kind of, values have they got? What kind of core values are we going to need as a group? So there's loads of work that needs to be done there, which you can start to measure out in the next 12 months, then in 2 years, then in 3 years, and 4 years, and 5. And there's loads of measurements that you can make along the way. So I think from a perspective of sanity, otherwise it can become a little bit dreamy. I like to ideally see that I'm making progress sooner across that time. But it's good to have, visions of the future.
Talk about culture. That's a word that gets used a lot these days.
Yeah.
How important do you think culture is to leadership, and how do you instill the right culture as a leader?
Well, we just celebrated 9 years of being in business, for the first
Congrats.
time. So yeah, I was like, whoa,
congrats.
wow, 9 years, and it's gone so fast. I've learned more in 9 years than I've probably in God knows how many years, and certainly in the last 2 or 3. And one of the things I realised very soon into running a business or building a business is that you can't do it on your own. You massively need to have people that have a sense of understanding of what they're there to do, and they believe in the concept of what you're trying to achieve. And for me, a culture is about a shared belief. People do things in a way that they believe in, which is it fits the definition that the leader or the business owners put on it. So, for example, if you've got a vision which is client-centric, customer-centric, it's service-orientated, bringing in people who are fairly selfish into that culture is going to kind of cause a disparity. Whilst if you're it's all about money, it's all about numbers, it's all about profits, etc. Then there's an element where you might need to hire those people. They're a bit more ruthless, perhaps. They're a bit more self-centered, and there's nothing wrong with either. It's just you need to know what your vision is, and then your culture will tell you with your values, right? There's no point. You've got to know your values. There's no point going, oh, well, I want that. Yeah. I really want that. But inside it really doesn't matter to you.
Yeah.
You've got to know what are your values. What are the things that you appreciate the most? What are the things that light you up the most? That will define the kind of vision that you need as a leader, and then the culture that you need to build to get there. How important is it? It's everything. It's everything. Yeah. It's everything. You can't do it on your own. And if you want to create something that's going to be special, which it needs to be today because we're in a highly competitive marketplace, then you need to work at it daily. You never have a culture and it's finished, complete. There we go, off we go, it's done. Pat ourselves on the back. No, you have to. It literally has to be worked at daily, weekly, monthly.
Is there a way to measure for people listening out there who are leaders? They might have one member of staff. They might have 50, 100. Is there a way that culture can be measured?
Yeah. Crikey, you look at self-appraisals, right? You can look at 360s for the organisation. There's ways of, once you've set your standards and the kind of vision and the behaviours that you need to represent your culture, you need to have a measurement. You need to understand, what do the people feel. So if it's a people-centred or people-orientated business, you need to be very people-centred with the way you manage the feedback. You want people to feel that they can share their trust or their views with you, because if they're doing it in a way that's purposeful and it's helpful and it's going to make a positive impact, then that's great. If they're just coming at you saying it's a pile of crap, I'm not, this is rubbish, that's rubbish, but they're not coming back with solutions, then you kind of know that they fall into, if you're in a particular culture, that probably might not fit. So it's 100%. I think you do need that.
I'm really interested in this conversation, in this topic of culture. Let's say you start a business, you're 5 years in, you're financially doing okay, but you feel that you've maybe got not the right culture that you want, that doesn't fit within your beliefs, or maybe you've got a certain member of your team that just doesn't fit what you're all about and what your core values and beliefs are. How do you go about solving that problem? Because that is a problem I'm sure a lot of people will probably have.
I've walked the path for 9 years. And let me give you some advice. It only dawned on me probably a year ago that not listening to my true values, my core values, and putting other people's values and lowering my expectations to meet theirs has made me more unhappy as a leader than happy. Yeah. Take that for what you want. It isn't a case of they're arseholes. They're not. They've just got a different appreciation for things, and that's absolutely cool. But if you're trying to go in this direction because this is what means the most to you, yet you're changing that course to suit people who appreciate different things, it's like any relationship. It's just not going to work. So the courage is the key in leadership. Courage is a big word in leadership today because, unfortunately, doing the easiest thing is to help everybody else. Yeah. Oh, I need to please everybody else. I want everybody to say that we've got the best culture and it's great. Just because if they say it, that means it. It doesn't, actually. You know if you've got it as a leader, if you listen to your intuition. And if you get asked great questions by great people who do get that, you'll start to realise where you stand. And actually, if you listen to your true voice, which is to understand what your identity is, what your so I would say to you, Tim, right, we're going to go through a process of finding out what your core values are. Are you living those values in your organisation? Are they part of? Do you want them to be in your organisation? My answer would be, look, if it's your organisation, if they don't have your DNA, right, you're gonna get bored. Yeah. You're gonna lose faith in it. You're gonna probably fall out of love with it, and that can happen if you're putting everybody else first. And by the way, putting everybody else first, and I totally get that you want a happy, coordinate team and everybody to be congruent and blah 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 blah. But what extent? Your authenticity. You know, what are you gonna? How are you gonna sleep at night if it's not really what you want because you're trying to placate everybody around you?
Yeah, it's definitely it's so important, isn't it? Culture, absolutely. I think there's a saying: culture is, especially the culture of your team, is what's happening when you're not there. Well, that's how you know you've instilled a solid culture.
100%. And culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
Peter Drucker. What he's saying is and over the last 5 years, the reason why it's dawned on me recently is we've had a good business. It's really successful, if you like, in that sense.
Yeah.
But it hasn't felt in the last 5 years as good as it felt in the first 5. Now, that's not because we had a better team in the first 5 years than we've had in the last 5 years. We were growing rapidly, right? Some people want to grow with you. Some people don't.
Yeah.
What we'd had is that there's a cohort of people that were, so it was great back then. It was great back then all the time. So as you're bringing new people in, they keep referring to the past. Well, how can you grow forward? How can you move forward? So how can you have a great strategy then for your business to meet the goals, right? If your culture's not right, because it doesn't matter, you can have the best strategy in the world, but if the culture doesn't want to buy in and you've got half that do and half that don't, guess which one wins?
Absolutely.
Right?
No, absolutely. It's so important. I think it's
a freaking big subject.
Definitely think it's, you know, like you said, it's something you need to make a serious consideration if you're just starting a business or you're in a business and there's something that's eating away and you don't feel right. Let's go back to the absolute start, Matt. So how did you what was your first ever job, paid job? Were you one of these serial entrepreneurs that was basically coming into the school with a load of sweets that they'd bought at the wholesale market and just no?
Well, do you know what? Actually, I was paid before my first job.
Yeah.
At school, I used to run, like, when the football tournaments were on, I would make a betting syndicate.
Okay, all right.
And all my friends and everybody would be coming to me to put their bets on in these tournaments for the teams that they wanted. And then in the games, each game, there would be a load of scores, right? Okay. So people would be betting on the scores. That was amazing. Then I put on events, which we promoted and sold and da-da-da-da. And then, you know, my football career was the big thing. At 16, I was an apprentice for 2 years at Peterborough United, and that was my first paid job as such.
Yeah.
You know.
So YT back in the day.
Yeah, 27 quid a week, £5 win bonus. I thought
cleaning boots? Was it that sort of point?
Cleaning boots.
Yeah.
Cleaning boots, cleaning balls, pumping up balls, getting them pelted at you by the first team pros if they were too hard. You know, it was probably like the army, if I'm being honest. And people would say you weren't in the army, you would know. Well, it was a pretty terrifying culture to kind of go into if you hadn't experienced anything like that before.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, that was where it all started for me, and I learned a lot about myself in those 2 years.
So what happened, say, after you obviously stopped playing football? Did you go straight into how did you get into property?
Yeah, so I basically came out of football for various reasons. One of the main reasons was my attitude just wasn't right for being a footballer. You know, I needed
huge commitment, huge. You need such a minute percentage that make it, isn't it?
Minute percentage that make it. I just think.
And you're 18. You're 17, 18.
I found other things that interested me as much, if not more. And you know, you go through that process of learning. And I actually done a couple of jobs, and then my mum said, you know, I was a bit lost, if I'm being honest. And my mum said to me, look, you know, you're good with people. Everyone says you're good with people. Your uncle said, you do what he's doing. He's an estate agent in London.
Okay.
Why don't you why don't you do the same thing? And there was a job going in the local estate agents at Taylor's. It asked for a driving licence. I didn't have a driving licence. I wouldn't have gone if it wasn't for my mum saying, just go down there and have a chat with them. I walked into the town, went in there, and the manager that recruited me, even though it took 3 interviews and tests and stuff, he said he knew he was going to take me on the moment I came in, because he said to me, why do you want to be an estate agent? You haven't got the driving licence, you haven't been in sales before. And I just said, I think I'm going to be really good at it.
That's it, confidence. There you go.
Now, if I'm being honest, I wasn't that confident at that time, but something came out of my mouth, which I'd never heard before. And that was the point where I felt, I landed into something that suited my skills and my strengths. And it started there, really, 26 years ago.
26 years ago. And how did your kind of career progress then? Well, did you start off as a was it a sales neg, lettings neg?
£6,000 basic salary, £35 a sale, whatever it was back then. I had to drive in 3 months, so I was taking my lessons, and they said if you pass your test, you keep your job, and you get an £8,000 basic.
Okay, that's a good incentive.
Passed first time, which was fantastic. Especially after the way the test started. But anyway, that's another story. But I got the job and got in there, passed in 3 months. And within about 6 months, less than that, I was doing really, really well. And I didn't know I was doing really well in terms of personally. I was just doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, right? I was getting calls from other negotiators and people that have been doing it a long time saying, what are you doing over there? How are you getting those results? Because I was exchanging on great commissions where they weren't great. The average fee was like £1,000, for a sale. Which was great, I suppose. But like I said, it wasn't about the money for me back then. It was about just really helping others. And I think for me, that's where it connected. And that's where it's never really ended for me. Yeah. And, what I would say to these guys who are ringing me up, well, I don't know what I'm doing differently, but I'm obviously doing something different. And it was really just trying to help people with their needs before mine. Yeah. So that's why the money, I've always said that takes care of itself, right? Get this bit right. Focus on other people's needs, give them solutions, and then off you go. And that principle stuck with me. So that was where it started. I left that company about a year in, to go and work at a company who was also an agency in another town. And believe it or not, they offered me an opportunity to play football every week. Okay. So they said, well, you can have every Saturday off and play football. When I started there, it was like at the end of a season. And I'd done like 3 or 4 months and was doing really well. The season started and it wasn't what they said. It was, I just carried on working basically. And so I'd done 2 years there, went back to Taylor's, got drawn back in by an inspirational guy called Ben. Ended up working for Ben for a year or two, and then the path really started. I went into sort of assistant manager, senior manager, opening.
Started climbing the ladder.
Yeah, up to director and stuff. So it was there from there.
Let's quickly just touch on that word, inspirational leader. So this chap called Ben.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about Ben.
Ben Taylor. He's at Keller Williams, and
he's at Keller Williams now.
He heads Keller Williams in the UK up. And we nearly reconnected again, as in we were looking to do something together a few years back, which was to come together on this project. I just felt it wasn't right for me, having built my businesses and so on and so forth. But yeah, Ben was like the person I wanted to be when I was like 22, 23. I was like, wow. He was a few years older than me. Yeah. He looks a few years older than me now, telling me. So hopefully he don't watch it now. Not really. He's a super guy. He used to come in and he'd leave you to it, but he'd come in and inspire you and then go away. And you felt energised. His meetings were really like clear, succinct, to the point. But he used to really influence extremely well. He made you feel like you were 10 foot tall. Yeah.
Do you think that's what it was then inside of you, that his inspiration was that he gave you that courage, that confidence?
Yeah,
he said he did it with his words. He was just clear.
Yeah, he didn't overdo it, right? He didn't try and do it for me. He just he made me feel like he believed in me, and that's all I needed. I could do the
Yeah.
rest, you know.
Yeah.
And I think where I get unstuck sometimes is I try and help people too much, and I get in their way, and then I want them to try and see their potential before they're prepared to, and actually you end up over managing, or you end up trying too hard to help people. And I think sometimes leadership isn't about doing the job for people; it's about getting them to see that they can do the job.
Absolutely. No, that's really interesting. Did you ever have any, talking about football,
Yeah.
did you have any coaches or managers that were as inspirational as what Ben was?
No.
No.
I think football, you know, over that period when I was playing football a lot, there were very few people that I could look back on and go, they changed my career, or they made me look at football differently. In fact, it was quite the opposite, if I'm being honest. There wasn't that kind of mentorship. There wasn't that inspiration. It was very one trick. Until I met an old guy in my second year as an apprentice who came and took over our team. His name was Jim Walker. He was in his 70s. Like he's got a bunch of bloody 16, 17 and 18 year olds that he's training. But you listen, he was a Yorkshire guy and he played his whole career of football. And he was passionate. He was my inspiration throughout my whole football career, that I would go to and say, I played my best football under this guy. Very similar to what we've just identified with Ben. He made you believe that you could do it and got out of your way. But he also knew he was quite prepared to take you on and say, that isn't acceptable.
That's what I was going to say to you, because, you know, I played a bit of football over my life as well. And I love the similarities between just sport and business, isn't there?
So much.
I see a huge, you know, I think it's a huge connection between the two. And, you know, you hear some players, they need an absolute rollicking to get going, and some players need an arm around the shoulder. Do you think that's the same in business, or can it be the same in business? Because today, you know, let's face it, today's cancel culture world, if you raised your voice at anyone, you know, that could be a problem. And, you know, like we said, sometimes people need that bit of a bollocking.
Well, I think
because they thrive off that.
I think if you want to build a great culture, the first thing that's at the pyramid of Lencioni's models of 5 dysfunctions of a team is trust. So if you're going to build trust with someone, there's got to be honesty, transparency. If that isn't there, or when you're doing that, people are taking it in a way that's offensive or whatever, because they've got a victim mindset, for argument's sake. And they don't see that your intentions are actually to help them. They just see it as it's much easier, isn't it? Let's be honest, Tim, to blame everybody else.
Absolutely, yeah.
Saying football is the biggest blame game there is, right? You go into a dressing room for football, fans, because the training weren't right, the referee made the mistakes, everybody else's fault. The left back, what didn't come across. No one says, not enough people say football, it's my responsibility. No. You do not talk to the ref like that. If you were in my team, you don't blame the ref. Ever blame the ref. They all make mistakes like you make mistakes in the game. Get over it, right?
Yeah.
If you're spending a minute thinking about the referee, you're going to miss something going back here. It's the same in business. People look outside of themselves. So comparable. So you have to make it really, really clear. Trust is the first pillar that all businesses need to build with the people that they work with. Trust comes with clear feedback. Setting expectations. How are people doing versus those expectations of them? Are we delivering on their expectations? Right? Because they've come to work for us. They're equally committed here. Are we delivering back? If we're not delivering back, what do we need to do to make sure that we're giving them what they need? Now, for me, if you beyond the trust bit, it gets easier. Your results are at the top of that pyramid, but where does everyone focus? At the top.
Yeah. How do you do stuff as part of your organisation, monthly basis, weekly basis? Do you do one-to-ones? Is it more informal? How do you, for people out there that are, you know, trying to grow a business, if you haven't worked in an environment, you sometimes don't know what to do. So
so we're at a stage where we've had to have some real structure and framework put in the last sort of year, 18 months. And I thank Gemma, who's joined our organisation with me, has really helped us put in a self-appraisal tool for everybody, including me.
Yeah.
So my self-appraisal is with Gemma. So she'll say to me about my behaviours. She'll say to me about my key competencies and my results, right? So so it starts up here because you can control all of these elements. You have like a traffic light system, right? So you are rating yourself. Now, great people have great self-awareness, right? Great people have great self-awareness. The kind of like the emotional, intelligent people that you'll work with, that you want in your organisations, they, unfortunately, are probably a lot harder on themselves than possibly they need to be. But that level of self-awareness helps you do better self-appraisals. So self-appraisals, we used to do one-to-ones, right? And a one-to-one, which is a self-appraisal, if you like. The one-to-one used to be, let me tell you where you're going wrong. Let me tell you what you need to do. Let me tell you haven't sold enough. Let me tell you this. Let me tell you
quite
that.
Negative.
Yeah, of course, because you're focusing on what people haven't done rather than what they have done. This is a really balanced appraisal. It's done every couple of months, generally speaking, with our property professionals. And it's something that we've only introduced properly in the last 6 months, where it's starting to become more of a format. And you can start to see the output of this process. I've had 2 or 3 now, so that's like it's like because it had to start.
Brutal.
Totally. But it's a really good tool, and I think
good,
from that point of view, you know, you've got your expectations, you've got your behaviours, all of the things that we believe we're building in our culture. How are you doing against those, in your opinion? And it starts to become a lot clearer for people when they work in your company.
And you say it's a self-appraisal, so they have some sort of form or something to fill out.
Yes, a spreadsheet. It's colours and they actually they complete it with the line managers, and that person's mentoring them against that appraisal. You know, I walked in on one today at the office upstairs, and you know, they were halfway through it, and it was just really interesting just to hear the dialogue. But I think for me, there's, you know, great people are very, very honest with themselves. In terms of, you know, how's your, you know, what's your positive behaviour or positive, what are you doing? Personal development, how's that going for you? You know, and so on and so forth. Give me some examples. And it's a really, really good tool. So I would encourage people to follow that format. You should certainly have people need to know what's expected.
Yeah.
You need to give people clear instructions, clear direction, and there's going to be people out there that just doesn't fit. You know, they want to just let it all go and it's all okay, it'll be fine, and you know, furlough or bailers out at the moment. You know, no. Right, let's get in the real world. Right, how many people go and naturally train and keep fit without a trainer? Right, and they really push themselves to that point where they're going up levels because they're growing, because they're going out of their comfort zone. How many people in business are the same? Oh yeah, do you know what? Let's just let a few employees that have just joined our organisation. It's carnage, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it's been with our organisation, which is why we've had to change things over the years as we've grown rapidly.
So true, so true. Going back to the career. So I know you worked at Countrywide at some. It was that pretty much after. So tell me about the transition from more independent to a larger national.
Well, that independent company came second. So I got the corporate job at Taylor's. Independent came second. That was weird, working for a family who were volatile. But you know, I learned a lot from them. I really did learn a lot from them. And working with the freedom that you got working in the independent. Then I went back to the cultural kind of career progression, the traditional path, if you like. Followed that up, threw up the ladder. And a couple of years, well, probably 3 or 4 years, I'd say after 2008, it started to dawn on me that this wasn't where I wanted to be, you know, and that was started to make me, I started to feel uncomfortable. I never used to think like that, and it made me feel uncomfortable. It made me think that I'm not sure this is for me. I'm not sure this is for me. And instead of understanding perhaps why, I started to really doubt myself and really feel that perhaps I'm not right for this industry anymore. You know, I was very close to leaving the industry altogether, which is interesting when I think about what's happened since then.
Definitely. That was an interesting type. So how did you go? Because that is a huge step for people. So, you know, I know some, and I'm sure you do as well, some unbelievable talent that work within a corporate organization or just a organization, and you think, do you know what? They have what it takes to run a business. Like, they have the work ethic, they have the tools that you need to basically make a success. But so many people don't make that step.
Yeah.
Why did you decide? How did you decide, and why did you decide
do
that? And 08 was a very interesting year to just before a certain crash.
Well, 08. So, 08 was the crash, and actually, I worked at Countrywide throughout that period up until 2012, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. But it got to 2011, 2010, where I started to realise that my approach to how I think this should be done isn't how we're doing it.
Yeah.
So it was about getting what you can rather than giving what you can. It was about numbers and pressure. And I felt it needed to be more inspiration and understanding. Yeah. So it was just like you said, it's about that values thing. When you start to listen to your inner voice, you've got two choices. You either make yourself unhappy and stay where you are, if you're unhappy. Now, some of these guys that are working for people are doing the right thing working for other people because they're given parameters. They're given what they feel they need. To them, freedom probably isn't as important, right? It could be security, right? So you take somebody who feels security is so important to them, and trying to coach them out of that place because we believe in them can be equally dangerous. It's got to land for them. But you and I know that there are certain things that will make a successful entrepreneur, but there is a big step between business owner and coming out of the corporate world, and that's going from self-employed to self-employed manager, and then from self-employed manager, where you're managing your team, right, to then being a business owner where you're just not needed, right? How many agents are out there that can say that at the moment? The ones that we're referring to that have gone on their own. I know loads that 20 years, 30 years in, they're still sitting behind their desks doing all the valuations locally, and they're out there, and some people would call them a business owner. They're not a business owner.
I think it comes back to that trust word again, doesn't it? It's all about trust, isn't it? Your staff, trust your team, build the right team.
And for certain people, they want to just do the job themselves.
Yeah.
Which is the self-employed piece.
Yeah.
I just want to do the job myself. I love what I do. I can turn up when I like. I can do what I like. I can pick the kids up, drop them off, do all those kinds of things. I think there's a lot of promotion around that at the moment. There's a lot of come and do it for us. You can do it self-employed. You can do that. If that's the right thing for you, you should jump at it. But building a business is another job. Being a self-employed estate agent of your own business is not being a business owner. And then being self-employed isn't being in control of a team in your own business. That is you, and that is you. It's all about you, and it will be all about you until you leverage your position by bringing in people that are either better than you or people that have got the talent to be better than you, and you train them up. That's the hard bit. When you're on your own and your time is money, and you're listing and the vendors want you to sell the house, and you've sold that service, and all of a sudden you're getting this other person in to do the job, there's a real dilemma at that point, which is why a lot of people go into self-employed agency and they go in like that. And they're blind to the challenges of a year to 2 years down the line. And then you start to see these people that have been lauding it up, saying that they're everything else, and they start to come out of that front line and they start to go back in to a structure because they feel the only way to get their life back then is to work for someone else. Yeah. And so, the success rate of people going into self-employed is very, very low from what I can see. Now, I may be speaking out of turn, and I'm only looking around the marketplace and seeing the high churn of the big, larger brokerages where people are going in, out. Now, some people are doing it slightly differently now. They're bringing in different models, and that's clearly going to be something that you can see works for other people, because as they grow, they recruit people in, those people become part of their income, and there's an interesting model there, which is like a model which can grow, if you like, without you being at the front line all the time. So it's an interesting place, agency today, isn't it, Tim?
Definitely. We'll move on to the future. We'll definitely talk about what we feel the future, or what you feel the future is. Going back to just, do you think your corporate or part of your corporate background really helped you when going, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to set up a team? Do you feel that, and was that more of a positive, or was it more of a negative, or was it a bit of both?
Definitely a bit of both. Bit of both,
yeah,
100%. Well, the thing is, you take away what you enjoyed and what you felt really helped you, and then you disregard the things that you felt didn't help you and they didn't suit you and that they're damaging to you as an agent.
Can you specifically tell me what
I think
what maybe helped you? Give us some examples of what helped you from a corporate.
Having a structure, having some structures. Things like making sure that when you're recruiting, there's a structure to the recruitment process. There's definitely some needs around having some basic guidance around what's expected, and having one-to-ones to feature around that. Looking at your structure as a business with things like profit and loss, understanding those things, having an accountant to come and manage your payroll, things like that. I offloaded a load of things from day one, knowing that I wanted to spend my time business developing, people developing. It's all business development, people development. And that's what I learned a lot in a positive way from the corporate world, along with the structures. Things I didn't learn and I didn't like so much was that when people review a set of numbers, they automatically look at what's crap and what's not so good. And, that's been conditioned. You go into your weekly meetings in the corporate world, it was, you haven't done this, or that hasn't been quite so good. And actually, that's not what it's about for me. So, I learned that lesson. And it was all about numbers and pressure and everything else. You need to know your numbers because that's the language of business. How you use the learnings is what kind of leader are you?
So interesting. What do you think your biggest, so since you've started your company, so your company's 9 years old? So
the first business, just to explain it, for anyone who doesn't have a clue where I am, which is probably a lot of people, but you've got the Gigs Group. The Gigs Group is an umbrella that we're building over and above Gigs & Co, which was 9 years old.
Yeah.
We have Signature Homes, which is the higher level brand. We have Gigs & Bell, which is a partnership that I've got, which again, it's a separate business. Gigs & Hone is a separate business in Bedford with another partner. Gigs & McGrath is a separate business. We're going to probably have another one coming into the fold in the next 6 months. And all of those businesses, including lettings and stuff, they're all partnership businesses, me and a partner, under the group's resources, the group's training and so on and so forth. So we're able to start a business with the right leader from day one and put a team in rather than watch somebody perhaps go through what that lesson that we were just talking about. We want to build a business, not a busy job. So we want the right person that has the potential to lead a team, to start a team with us, build a team up, albeit smaller than probably what they're used to, grow that in their town of choice where they are, and equip them with those resources. So for us, it's 9 years old, the first one, but we've got new businesses which are just 7 or 8 months old as well.
Amazing. What's been the biggest failure for you so far personally, and then from a business perspective, what's been the biggest failure that you've had to overcome, and 100%. Why was it the biggest failure?
Well, there's been loads of failures. I'm not going to lie, right? Failing is the biggest thing I've learned is that actually, if you are failing, you're trying to do things that are going to break new ground, But I definitely picked up a lot from a lesson of being in one of my partnerships where a lady called Joanne, who I get on like a house on fire. I was doing another podcast. I'm probably going to say the same thing. We came together brilliantly, right? She brought her managed properties across. I put my managed properties with her, and we created a brand called Noonan Gigs, right? Put it together, 6 months, 8 months, off we go. What we didn't do is check in on what are our values? What's our vision? Because I was trying to go in a certain direction, right? Come on, this is the route we're going down. And I just constantly felt resistance. And that was her inner voice going, do you know what? I just want to do my way, my thing. Yeah. And it got to this time last year where we said, let's just push them apart again. So like less than 3 years old, market leading at the time on new listings and lets, agreed. We, really profitable, 33% net profit. Really, really no reason to unpick it other than the fact that we're not going in a direction that we both see us going in, that we both need to go in for our own needs. And we still message each other occasionally now, as you do. You kind of fall away from that thing. But it was a great conversation that was triggered just from a load of situations where you sensed that this isn't going in a direction that's going to end up being particularly right for both of us. Let's have the conversation now. COVID's here. Is it something that we could do whilst this is going on? Yes, it was. And it was the right decision to make. We basically put them apart and went forward. But I've learned so much from that. And I think Joanne probably has as well.
Do you think that's a mistake that a lot of people make? They do a joint venture partnership, a merger, start a business with their best mate, who's their they're both co-founders, and actually it's like you said, values, isn't it? Like, what do you really care about? Because so many people, you get a great idea, don't you? You think, I'm going to start this company, it's going to be amazing, we've got this, but you don't have that. So that's kind of what you're trying to say, isn't it?
Yeah. We just
have this discussion before you start the business.
We've done disc and things like that, and there was lots of discussions about where I kind of felt it was going, and I just felt that it wasn't something that she clearly wanted or needed.
Yeah.
So I think over time for us both, it had to be done, like us coming together, because I think we would have done so at some point. Now I learn that going into business with a partner, it means we need to understand each other's values. Can those values work together? Do we have a vision of this joint business that's aligned? Yeah. Now, you don't go and start dating someone who you think's an arsehole, right? You don't start...
You'd hope not.
Yeah, you don't. But what people do is they go into relationships being somebody that they're not.
Yeah.
If everybody went into a relationship and they were aware of their values and what's important to them, the things that are just, they're almost like shape your identity. They're the things that matter the most to you, albeit whatever. It could be honesty or transparency or authenticity. It could be, it could be intimate. It could be security. It could be all sorts of things. There's all sorts of things that people are. It's 120 odd values, right? So you're not going to have all of them aligned, but there are core values which are where you are right now that you really appreciate from your past, where you currently are, and your future. Now, if they're totally like off over here and one's off over here, you've either got to be exceptional at understanding each other and communicating to a level which brings you both together, or you've just got to accept the fact that it's just never going to be. And I think that's just where we were. And do you know what? I wouldn't change anything around that business relationship. I think it's taught me a hell of a lot, and it's taught Joanne, I'm sure, a hell of a lot as well. And the fact that it was easy to unpick it is a representation of the way we communicated in the 2.5 years that we worked together, because it wasn't a difficult split, which it really could have been.
Absolutely. Going back to COVID, we mentioned the dirty word, COVID.
Yeah. I don't think estate agencies are calling it a dirty word. I think estate agencies have gone like, wow, this is like the best year I've ever had.
I know. It's gone a bit crazy, hasn't it, for the property industry? That's for certain. Yeah. I'm sure, like all business owners, and property as well, I'm sure was no different. When you heard about COVID-19,
yes,
what was your initial reaction from a human side and from a
I've never scared. Honestly, that sort of stuff, it didn't scare me about losing my life or anything. That didn't even occur to me. Obviously, you're looking at the things that mean the most to you, your family and relationships and your business and your partners and everything else. And you want to make sure that the first thing was we needed to just drill down on where are we right now? Where do we want to be in a year's time? Let's say 50%. We were projecting that you'd only see 50% of the transactions maximum, right?
Yeah.
Maximum from the previous year. So we were like budgeting for 50%. That's what we did for 3 months. We cut our cloth accordingly, cut our costs where we needed to, culturalise where we wanted to go, realise that some people could go in that direction with us, some people couldn't. Since then, it unfolded that there was even more people that didn't want to come in the direction because, let's be honest, people were having their own dilemmas, their own thoughts.
Absolutely.
They're like, well, this isn't what I want either, and I think that's totally respectful of the process. So, yeah, we looked at it like probably many people did, but we really acted swiftly in terms of where we wanted to be in 3 months, where we wanted to be in 6 months and 9 months and 12 months. And we kind of followed that plan, and we realised it was going to be chaos and also confusion and situations, because you're trying to move through something that's as fluid as not even understanding the market. You're coming out in June or May and it was like, bloody hell, I've never known anything like this, But we operated through COVID with a very small team in each business, and they done brilliantly.
How did you have people? Obviously, we all have to work from home at some points. How did the team find it, and how do you support? A lot of business now, aren't they, going more of a hybrid model?
Can I just stop? Can you ask this question again? I've just got to let someone in. Just bear with me a second.
Yeah, no worries.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. Don't worry. It's all good.
The classic Amazon
Amazon delivery.
So
the question was, now how did your team find it working from home, and is it something now that you guys have chosen a model where there's a bit of a hybrid like a lot of companies doing, or is everyone back in the office? 2-part question.
Yeah, well, they found it challenging at first because a lot of the good thing is we moved into just having laptops across the business like a few years back now, and that made it easy, cloud-based systems and everything else. So we didn't have a big challenge saying to people, "Can you work from home?" You literally take their phones home, set them up at home, and then they were off and running.
Yeah.
I think people found that difficult at first, and I think they very soon after that, kind of 2 or 3 weeks in, I think it quite suited a lot of people. Albeit it was challenging, but because the whole country was going through it, it was an understanding process. There wasn't an issue really with. I'd done a Rightmove webinar. There's about 700 or 800 people on it, and my kids broke into the room.
Yeah,
they were running around the room behind me, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" But everybody was going through it at the same time.
Jamie Oliver, the same thing. He was trying to cook, and his kids kept coming in all the time. You say, it happens to the best of us.
It does, but you know what? I think
it's real life, isn't it?
It's real life. I think there's a humanistic benefit to the whole thing. Communities come together and everything else. But as a business, there was a lot that was missed in terms of working in a team, being around other people and just spinning their wheels on certain things. I think productivity certainly went up to begin with.
Yeah.
People were there was a lot more work being done. But we have people back in the offices across the business. Everyone's back in.
Yeah.
We do have people going and working from home here and there because they've got whatever the situations might be.
Yeah.
And we have a few members of staff that are based at home now. But generally speaking, it's business as usual. Is
that a decision that was a collaborative decision across the team, or was it a leadership decision? Or was
I think, do you know what? It was team by team, but pretty much everybody wanted to be back in.
Yeah.
And I think
that's what the whole world. I think that's what can't speak for the world,
missing, they're missing that social interaction.
Absolutely. Have you got is your team a mix of junior and more experience?
Yeah,
or would you say it's more junior?
It's 50-50. It really is. There's a real diversity between experience and no experience. And, I think we've really found what works for us now. And I think because of the way in which we're looking to go with our vision and the kind of people we want in our organisation, we are looking to increase our packages, if you like, to bring people in, like really start to offer better everythings to attract the best of the best. And when you look at our vision of what we expect and everything else, it's going to need the best of the best. So recruitment's going to get harder, but the onboarding is just going to go through to another level, and we're going to show people that they can build businesses with us if that's what they want, or have a clearer career progression with us that's going to meet their needs, and with flexibility further down the line. I definitely see flexibility and more freedom around having the right people, so you don't need to managed overly. Everyone needs a bit of guidance and direction, which is what we were coming back to earlier on. But I think there was it's been rudderless at times in some of the certainly in my first business, because it was so busy that you had a lot of the senior people out all day, every day.
Yeah, definitely. What's the what do you think the changes are? What do you think the most profound changes will be from what we're, especially in business and property, since before this pandemic and now moving into, hopefully, with a good vaccination program and, we're starting to move out of it? What do you think is going to be some of the biggest things that are going to have changed?
What about
culturally? About the industry, the property industry.
I think the property industry, our industry has been changing for quite a number of years, and there's a lot of talk. And if you go back to just Purple Bricks, when they started to recruit local property experts, and that was a self-employed model. It's not a new thing. Every estate agent that isn't corporate started independently with a self-employed person starting it. It's not a new. Oh my God, this is them. What they're doing though is it's being batched up under brands or powered by and so on and so forth. And people are uplifting and doing a lot of the heavy lifting to help people get to that stage where they can do it themselves. So I think that's really interesting. I think that there's a lot to be done in all of the industry to improve the environments, to improve the kind of quality, if you like. So if I think the industry has been tarnished by low quality people, and I mean that in a respectful way, but when I say low quality, people that don't really care. They're just in it for the money. They're just in it for the job. It's just a job. If you're going to help people move home and think of it as just a job, you're going to struggle, because to those people, it's not just they don't want to deal with people that consider it to be just a job. It's much more than that. You're moving somebody's life and taking their life and helping them to go to that next place in their life. And that requires a lot of skills. And I touched on emotional intelligence. I think at the moment, I think you'll probably see in the next 5 years, this model might have seen its time. I think all of these people running around on their own, doing it for themselves, I think there will be, unless there's a lot of change in that place, a lot of people will soon realise that unless they're of a particular build, then that might not be the right thing for a lot of people. Especially if there is an element where they want to enjoy the balance of things as well. It's very difficult to say, well, yeah, you can just work part-time, be self-employed. How many clients are going to want a estate agent to get them the best price and to get them the best buyer and to be responsive and to market their property to the biggest possible audience, yet they're only working half the week, right?
It's going to be tricky, isn't it?
It's going to be tricky, right? Or it's just them. So actually, they're out all day doing other things. So they're not actually selling my property. Well, how about
Absolutely.
that? People are starting to catch hold of the fact that they can't get hold of their agent because they're really busy. Well, hang on a minute. That's you're going to be leaving a sour taste. So I think, It'll be interesting to see. I would imagine that there'll be a period of what's going on right now where people are trying it, they're giving it a go, they're going to see how it goes, and they're being sold lots of dreams and wishes, and it's all good and it's going to be fine. You know, if you've got guts, courage, and you're prepared to take risks and build businesses and build people, then it's the right thing for you to go and do. But I do believe that the industry is going to settle itself down, and you'll have really strong corporate brands. Connells, you've got to look at Connells. What Connells have gone and done recently, they've made their statement.
Yeah.
You know, that was hard, wasn't it? 5 or 6 years ago, they were going down. We're going to do this and this, and Connells have gone. Well, we're going to put our head above the parapet and make some big acquisitions. Fair play to them. And from their structure, why not? Why they might make that a success? I think there's a lot of independent agents that are going, no, we need to sort our own game out, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm doing right now, going, we don't want to just be this independent estate agent that is in one location. We can build something special by having the right structures and offering the right things to the marketplace. And then you've got some people that, like you say, are just going to be happy, ticking along, just doing their own thing. So I do feel it will go through a funny period. There's like 2 or 3 offers out there in the market for people at the moment. And I think it'll be interesting to see which one starts to creep ahead of everybody else.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. I think as well, you've seen a shake-up definitely in the lettings industry since, obviously tenant fee bans, taxation for landlords, lots of government intervention, shall we say, to make it a little bit hard for people for their, whatever the incentive is, I understand. So, there has been a shake-up, I think, around the country in terms of a reduction in the amount of companies obviously doing lettings. It'll be interesting to see when the sales market, and it will happen at some point.
It will happen. It will. Within 5 years. Within 5 years, you'll see there will be a cull. And why? Because transactions aren't going to go rapidly higher in terms of numbers compared to the numbers of agents that are in. I mean, we've got twice the number of agents in our town than we had when we started 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just.
And actually, if you used to count the bedroom agents as well, the guys that are running out of a bedroom or the purple bricks of this world, you could add another 20 or 30% onto that as well. So, it's a highly competitive market, which means there's a pie. Now that pie is smaller than what it was a number of years ago. So you've got a smaller pie and more people fighting for the slice.
How do you, as someone that owns an estate agency right now, how do you ensure that you're someone, how do you protect your business and make sure that you not only survive, but you thrive as well? Yeah. What would be your key message to that owner?
Well, first of all, focus on your business, not anybody else's. We all get caught up, look around, what's going on, pie charts, right-move graphs, who's just put a board up there, blah, 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 lost that one to somebody else, that means they're doing cheap fees. First of all, get your own game in order, right? Get your own house in order. Look at your team. Is that person going out there listing someone you would use? Be honest. What's your intuition saying? Have they gone out and valued somebody's house that you know, right? That's just going to get them and test them out and challenge them. And they've passed that test. If not, do it. Because if you haven't got the right people in your team, then you need to start working right there. And to get the right people in the team, you've got to know where you're heading. So you've got to go back to your values. So you really need to focus on your stuff first. Focus on your values, focus on your vision, focus on your mission. Then, once you've got those things, you can start to look at your service versus that and your people delivering that service, versus that. And that comes back down to things that you can control, behaviours, expectations, whether they're being managed, whether you're training your team, whether they need more training, etc., etc. Don't look outside of your business.
Great advice, Matt. Great advice. If you could step into my shoes, what would you have asked yourself that I didn't? So if you were me right now, what would you?
That's a good call. That's a good question. Well, that question. There you go. So no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to cheat. Look, I think I think in agency, one of the things that you've got to realise, and this is more of a personal development question, is how important is mindset in our business.
Yeah.
It's everything. It's everything in life. The biggest pandemic right now isn't COVID-19. The biggest pandemic right now is victimhood. The blame game. Right? It's people that want to turn up wherever they're turning up to their business or somebody else's. They want to look outside of themselves for their results. They want to look at somebody else to blame. They want to look at the government. They want to look at, it was Brexit, wasn't it? Then it was COVID. And, before that, over the years, it was interest rates. It was tax relief. It was, there's no buy-to-let things going on. It was lettings fees going up. There's always something. I never get drawn into all of that. My mindset is focused on what I can control. And for me, if you've got that mindset and you get the right guidance, you'll smash it out the park today. So for me, the only question I would ask somebody that you haven't asked is, how much importance do you put on mindset in being in business in a estate agency?
How do you control your mindset, Matt? Or what particular things do you do that helps you to have a positive mindset, strong mindset? What do you do?
Years ago, in my teens and going into my 20s, you'd have a bad year, right? I had a bad year. Well, then it got to a bad month, right? Then it got to a bad week. Then it got to a bad day. I capture my language. I'm aware of what's coming out of my mouth a lot more now than I've ever been. Because what comes out of my mouth is what's going on inside my head.
Yeah.
So I've got to make sure what goes into my head comes out of my mouth, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So self-awareness is the big thing, right? So self-awareness for me is one of the things that personal development gives you. Gives you an opportunity to look at yourself. Not to overdevelop yourself so you're not who you really are, right? It's actually finding out who you really are and to encourage that person out. Because actually most people keep it locked away until they die. They only start living their lives when some big event happens. And absolutely, why do we need to wait for that? And so for me, it's all about managing myself, focusing on things that are good for me. So keeping fit. Yeah. Drink lots of water, just basic
I thought you were going to
stuff.
say just drink lots of beer.
Well, look, and I think I try to out-train, a bad diet.
Yeah.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
You can try your best. You can try that. Oh, well, if I do an extra 30 minutes, that means I can have another 3 glasses of wine tonight. Look, who are you kidding? It's actually not about calories. It's about thinking. It's about, drinking affects your thinking, right? It's a depressant. So if you feel more depressed, is that actually going to help you to drive a business forward? No. Is that going to help you to deliver a great service? No. It's like taking drugs. It's a coping mechanism. What's it coping? Yeah. Deal with that. Go to a therapist. Talk to people. Find out what it is that's holding you back and then unlock your potential. And it's your potential you need to train. In that head of yours, Tim, right, are a million thoughts a day probably, right? You've got loads of stuff going on, right?
It's painful.
It's painful. And it's the same with everybody. And with a device now and all the things that go on around us today, people would have been watching this. And if we've kept them going till an hour and 2 minutes, we've done really, really well, right? Yeah. Because they say about 2 minutes is probably about the maximum, or maybe 15 seconds when they see a video pop up on their phones. You've got to keep yourself really, really in check. And to do that, you need to listen, read, observe, stay present as best you can today. Limit the amount of time you spend on your phone. Keep yourself fit. Keep yourself healthy. Try and invest in yourself more. You've only got one you. Get the best of it out there on show every day.
What's the most important skill you need to master to be successful in property, do you think? One skill.
How you think.
How you think.
Totally. Well, that does everything else, right? So you've got to accept that you're going to have negative thoughts. You've got to accept that you're going to wake up some days and it's not going to feel great. And, no one wakes up every day jumping out of bed, oh my God, I'm going to have a great day. It doesn't work like that. Let's be real. You might have watched the news a day before. You might have had somebody bitching about you on a Facebook post or whatever. Things get into your head. It's how you get them out of your head. how you focus on your thoughts, how you can switch your focus and take control of your thoughts. For me, that is a skill. How many people work at it? Hardly any. Should be started at school. Should be going back to school, get kids in school to teach them that you're going to think like this. It's just going to happen, right? Talk to them about self-development, self-education, mindset, self-worth, self-control. Do you know what makes me laugh today more than anything else? Is that everyone loves a loser. And what I'm on about is that, woe is me, and oh my God, this is terrible, and this is bad, and that. Oh, and then misery loves company, they come flocking together. All so they can help each other feel better by somebody else's misery. Yeah. How freaking sad is that, right? Instead of coming around it that way, let's come around it another way. Let's take kids. Start to get them to believe in their dreams. Yeah. By believing in themselves. And how do you get people to believe in themselves? You got to start talking about yourself more. You got to start talking about what you're good at, what things you enjoy doing. Start from the ground up. That is inside to the outside. So true. I really appreciate your time today, Matt. You're welcome. You know, it's been really good. Hopefully we've kept people interested. I'm sure we have. For anyone out there that, you know, how does someone reach you? Through social? Yeah, social media. So I'm on LinkedIn. Very easy to find on LinkedIn. Facebook, I have a power group called Matt Giggs Personal Power Group. Yeah. It's a closed group. It's just for the stuff that we've just talked about. You know, motivation, inspiration, ideas. For me, you know, from an email perspective, it's mg@mattgiggs.com. I will get back to you. And yeah, just give us a follow. Come along. I'm on Instagram as well, but I'd say LinkedIn's probably the right one for the platform that we're on right now. Cool. Matt, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me on too. Thanks so much.